The Montana winter painted the landscape in shades of silver and white, but inside the rustic cabin, warmth radiated from both the crackling fireplace and the bond between Thomas Blackwood and his granddaughter Emma. At 72, Thomas's weathered face and steel-gray hair told stories of battles long past, while his sharp green eyes remained ever vigilant. Emma, 16 and full of curiosity, sat cross-legged by the fire, her dark hair reflecting golden highlights as she tinkered with an old pocket watch. "Grandpa, why does this watch tick differently than others?" she asked, holding it up to her ear. Thomas's expression flickered briefly, a micro-expression few would notice. The watch had belonged to her mother, his daughter Catherine, before she and Emma's father disappeared on a classified research mission 3 years ago. "Some things tick to their own rhythm, little star," he replied, using his old nickname for her. Thomas moved to the window, his military training still evident in his fluid movements. The setting sun cast long shadows across the snow-covered clearing surrounding their home. Something felt wrong tonight, a sensation he hadn't experienced since his days commanding special operations. The first sign came as a subtle vibration in the ground. Emma felt it too, looking up from the watch with concern. "Grandpa?" "Stay inside," Thomas commanded, his voice shifting from gentle grandfather to hardened warrior in an instant. He moved to the gun safe hidden behind a landscape painting, entering the combination with practiced ease. The sky above their clearing shimmered, the air seeming to fold in on itself as a massive ship materialized. Its obsidian surface absorbed light rather than reflected it, its design unlike anything human engineering had achieved. Thomas's jaw clenched. He'd seen similar technology once before, on the mission that ended his military career and started his life as Emma's protector. 6 figures emerged from the ship, their armor a mixture of organic and technological components that seemed to shift and adapt to the environment. Their leader, nearly 8 feet tall, moved with predatory grace toward the cabin. Thomas Blackwood, the alien's voice resonated through the walls, a sound like grinding metal given purpose. "We know you guard the Nexus key. Surrender it, and your death will be quick." Emma clutched the pocket watch tighter, her hands trembling. "Grandpa, what's happening?" Thomas moved with surprising speed, grabbing a go bag from under the floorboards. "Emma, listen carefully. Everything I've taught you about survival, about staying calm under pressure, this is why. Your mother knew this day might come. The watch, Emma. It's more than just a timepiece." The cabin's reinforced walls shuddered as energy weapons began their assault. Thomas pulled Emma toward a concealed basement entrance. "Your parents didn't disappear on a research mission. They were protecting you, protecting what you carry within you. The watch is the key to unlocking it, but only you can use it." "I don't understand," Emma's voice cracked, but her eyes showed the same determination Thomas had seen in Catherine's. "You will. Your DNA, little star, it's not entirely human. Your mother was part of a project to merge human genetics with technology from an ancient race. You're the success they never reported, the perfect fusion they were looking for." Thomas activated the basement security measures as they descended. "Those beings up there? They're called the Vorkath. Mercenaries for hire, but they serve something ancient and dangerous." The ceiling above them groaned as the assault intensified. Thomas led Emma to a hidden chamber within the basement, pressing his palm against a scanner. A sleek ship, no larger than a small yacht, shimmed into view as its cloaking field deactivated. "Your grandmother helped design this," Thomas explained, pride mixing with urgency in his voice. "She always said I'd need it someday. Called it Mother's intuition." He began the ship's startup sequence as explosions rocked the foundation above them. Emma gripped the watch tighter, her mind racing to process everything. "Why now? Why today?" "The watch," Thomas explained as he worked, "it's been measuring more than time. It's been monitoring your genetic maturation. You turned 16 last week, the age when the changes would begin. They must have detected the signal. The Vorkath breached the main floor of the cabin, their heavy footsteps echoing through the structure. Thomas sealed the ship's entrance behind them as Emma strapped herself into the co-pilot's seat. Her hands moved across the controls with surprising familiarity, muscle memory she didn't know she possessed taking over. "Your mother made sure certain knowledge was encoded in your genes," Thomas explained, noting her expression. "Just like she ensured I'd be the one to protect you if anything happened to them." The ship's engines hummed to life as the basement's ceiling began to retract, revealing the night sky above. The Vorkath leader's voice boomed again, "The girl cannot be allowed to reach her potential. The cycle must end." Thomas's hands flew across the controls, weapon systems emerging from the ship's seamless hull. "Emma, whatever happens, remember this, your parents loved you enough to sacrifice everything to protect you. And so do I." He engaged the engines, and their ship shot through the opening, leaving the ruins of their quiet life behind. As they ascended through the atmosphere, Emma looked at the watch in her hands. Its ticking had changed, becoming more like a heartbeat than a timepiece. The night sky above them erupted with weapons fire as the Vorkath ship gave chase, but Emma felt an unusual calm settling over her. The watch pulsed in sync with her heartbeat, and for a moment, she swore she could hear her mother's voice whispering, "It's time to wake up, little star." Thomas smiled grimly as he piloted their ship through the barrage, knowing this was just the beginning. The quiet years of preparation were over. Now, it was time for Emma to learn who, and what, she truly was. Space unfolded around their ship like a dark flower blooming in reverse as Thomas engaged the experimental drive system. Emma's stomach lurched, but the sensation felt oddly familiar, as if she'd done this countless times before. The pocket watch in her hands pulsed with increasing intensity, its glow matching the strange patterns now racing beneath her skin. "The genetic memories are activating," Thomas explained, his eyes fixed on the navigation controls. "Your mother encoded everything you'd need to know into your DNA, but she had to hide it until you were ready. The watch is the key to unlocking it gradually, preventing your mind from being overwhelmed." The Vorkath ship emerged behind them, its massive form distorting space itself as it gave chase. Energy beams lanced through the void, their ship's defensive systems barely deflecting each blast. Thomas's hands danced across the controls with practiced precision, executing maneuvers that should have been impossible for a craft their size. "Your grandmother designed this ship to be piloted by two people working in perfect sync," Thomas said, flipping several switches overhead. "Care to help your old grandpa show these aliens what a Blackwood can do?" Emma's hands moved before her conscious mind could process the request, accessing systems she somehow knew intimately. The ship responded to her touch like an extension of her own body. "How is this possible?" she whispered, watching as complex navigational calculations flowed through her mind. "The same way I knew how to protect you all these years," Thomas replied, executing a barrel roll that brought them behind a small asteroid. "Your mother didn't just choose me as your guardian because I'm family. During my last mission, I was exposed to the same technology they used to modify your mother's DNA. It changed me, connected me to the same ancient knowledge, but in a different way. I became the warrior while she became the creator." The asteroid exploded behind them as the Vorkath ship fired its main weapon. Emma felt the blast wave approaching before their sensors detected it. Her fingers flew across the controls, activating countermeasures she didn't know they had. A shield of pure energy erupted around their ship, dispersing the shockwave. "They're not trying to kill us," Emma realized, reading the energy patterns of the alien weapons. "They're trying to disable us. They need me alive." Thomas nodded grimly. "You're carrying something they've sought for millennia, the key to unlocking the full potential of their ancient technology. But they don't understand what your mother did. She didn't just copy their genetic code, she improved it, merged it with humanity's greatest strength." "Which is?" Emma asked, initiating a complex series of course corrections that sent them skimming along the surface of a nearby moon. "Free will, little star. The ability to choose our own path. Thomas's voice carried the weight of years of hidden knowledge. The Vorkath serve beings called the architects, the original creators of their technology. The architects believed in predetermined destiny, in paths set in stone. Your mother proved them wrong. The chase led them through a dense asteroid field, both ships weaving through the chaos of tumbling rocks and ice. Emma felt her consciousness expanding, accessing more of the encoded memories with each passing moment. She saw flashes of her mother in a laboratory, working with strange technologies, speaking with beings of pure energy. She saw her father, his military uniform marked with insignia she'd never seen before, standing guard over something precious. The watch, Emma gasped as another memory surfaced. It's not just unlocking memories, is it? It's measuring time until something specific happens. Thomas pressed a sequence of buttons, causing their ship to momentarily phase out of normal space. Your mother called it the convergence. A moment when human potential and ancient technology could truly merge, creating something entirely new. The architects feared it because they couldn't control it. They sent the Vorkath to prevent it. The Vorkath ship suddenly appeared directly ahead of them, its weapons primed. The alien leader's voice echoed through their communication system. The time of choosing approaches, Thomas Blackwood. You know the price of human unpredictability. Surrender the girl, or watch your entire species pay the price. Emma's hand found her grandfather's as memories of her mother's work filled her mind. They're afraid, she whispered. Not of what I am, but of what humanity might become if we're given access to their knowledge freely, without their control. Thomas squeezed her hand, his expression fierce with pride. Then let's show them exactly why they should be afraid. He activated the ship's primary weapon system, one Emma now remembered her grandmother designing specifically for this moment. Energy coursed through the ship, channeled through pathways that mimicked the genetic patterns encoded in Emma's DNA. The pocket watch's ticking reached a crescendo as power built around them. Emma understood now, the ship wasn't just a vessel, it was a key to unlocking her full potential. Together? Thomas asked, his hands poised over the controls. Emma nodded, feeling the strength of generations flowing through her. Together. Their ship erupted with light as human determination met ancient technology, creating something the architects had never predicted, proof that the future wasn't set in stone, but could be shaped by the choices of those brave enough to make them. The Vorkath ship hung in space before them, its crew about to learn why targeting this particular family had been their greatest mistake. The void between stars erupted with light as Emma and Thomas's ship unleashed its full potential. The energy wave that burst forth wasn't just a weapon, it was a key, unlocking something within the pursuing vessel. The Vorkath ship's organic components responded to the pulse, its surface rippling like disturbed water. What's happening to them? Emma asked, watching as the massive ship's systems began to shift and change. Your mother's final gift, Thomas explained, maintaining their defensive position. She didn't just modify your DNA, Emma. She created a cascade effect. Anyone exposed to your genetic signature begins to change, to evolve. The architects tried to create perfect soldiers in the Vorkath. Your mother gave them back their free will. The alien vessel's weapons powered down as confusion spread through its crew. On their view screen, they could see the Vorkath warriors struggling with their first taste of true choice in millennia. Some fought against the change, their armor cracking and falling away. Others stood still, experiencing individual thought for the first time. But their leader, surrounded by a corona of dark energy, remained unchanged. You think freedom is a gift? His voice boomed across space. It is a curse. The architects saved us from chaos, gave us purpose. The ship's emergency systems activated, ejecting the affected warriors into space while emergency shields wrapped around them, preserving them in stasis. Thomas's expression hardened. He's one of the pure strain, Vorkath, who underwent complete genetic modification. They can't be changed back. He looked at Emma, his eyes full of fierce pride. Your mother knew this might happen. That's why she made sure you'd have a choice. Emma felt the watch pulse in her hands, synchronized now with both her heartbeat and the ship's core. More memories surfaced, blueprints, genetic sequences, and most importantly, a message from her mother: the power to change others is nothing compared to the power to choose your own path. The pure strain leader's ship, now crewed only by his loyal followers, charged its main weapon. The architects foresaw this moment, he snarled. The human variable must be eliminated before the great convergence. All possible futures lead to chaos. No, Emma stood, understanding flooding through her. They don't see all possible futures. They only see the ones they're afraid of. She placed the watch into a slot that had appeared on her console, its ticking now matching the pulse of their ship's core. Mom knew that fear of chaos was just fear of change. The ship responded to her revelation, its systems reconfiguring as new options appeared on their displays. Thomas smiled, recognizing his daughter's handiwork in the design. Catherine always said the best defense was giving others a choice. Emma's fingers danced across the controls, activating sequences that felt as natural as breathing. The ship's hull began to glow with lines of energy that matched the patterns now visible beneath her skin. We're not running anymore, are we? No, little star. Now we show them why humanity was chosen for this gift. Thomas engaged the ship's new configuration as Emma channeled her awakening powers through its systems. Their small vessel transformed, its hull flowing like liquid metal as it incorporated elements of the same technology that made the Vorkath ship so formidable. But where the alien vessel was dark and angular, theirs blazed with light and curved surfaces that reflected the stars themselves. The pure strain leader's ship launched a barrage of missiles, each one designed to disable their systems. Emma reached out with her newly awakened senses and felt the hybrid consciousness within their ship responding to her. The missiles froze in space, caught between conflicting commands as their organic components responded to her presence. The architects built their empire on control, Thomas explained, watching as Emma worked. Your mother built something different, technology that responds to choice, to free will. That's why they fear you so much. The frozen missiles began to transform, their military programming rewritten by the same force that had awakened the Vorkath warriors. They reformed into spheres of pure energy, dancing around their ship like celestial guardians. I can feel them, Emma whispered, sensing the consciousnesses of the ejected Vorkath warriors in their stasis fields. They're dreaming for the first time. Actually dreaming. The pure strain leader's voice had lost its mechanical perfection, showing hints of desperation. You cannot comprehend the chaos you will unleash. The architects brought order to 1,000 galaxies. Order without choice isn't peace, Emma responded, her voice carrying the wisdom of 2 civilizations. It's just another kind of war. She looked at her grandfather, seeing in him the same warrior spirit that had chosen to become a protector. Should we show them what real peace looks like? Thomas nodded, understanding exactly what she meant. Together, they initiated the sequence her mother had designed for this moment, not a weapon, but a bridge between worlds. Their ship pulsed with energy as the watch's ticking reached a new rhythm, one that spoke of possibility rather than predestination. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath as humanity's potential faced the fear of ancient gods who had forgotten how to dream. The bridge between Emma's ship and the transformed Vorkath warriors manifested as streams of golden light, each connecting to their stasis pods. Through these connections, Emma could feel their awakening consciousness, centuries of rigid programming giving way to the first stirrings of genuine emotion. Among them was a female warrior, Naira, whose mind reached out to Emma's with surprising strength. Unlike her companions, Naira's thoughts were already ordered, as if she'd been secretly preparing for this moment for years. Through their connection, Emma saw flashes of Naira's past, secret meetings with other dissident Vorkath, carefully hidden doubts about the architect's absolute authority. Some of them were already changing, Emma realized, sharing the discovery with Thomas. Mom's work, they knew about it. They were waiting for it. Thomas nodded, monitoring the pure strain leader's ship, which hung back, its weapons charged but silent. Your mother had allies among them. Warriors who remembered what it meant to choose. His hands moved across the controls, extending their ship's shields around the stasis pods. Time to bring them home. The recovery operation began, their ship's energy beams drawing in the stasis pods one by one. Each pod contained a warrior in the midst of transformation, their biomechanical armor reshaping itself as their minds awakened to new possibilities. The pure strain leader watched, unable to prevent the rescue without risking destruction of his own kind. As the last pod was secured, Naira's consciousness touched Emma's again, sharing crucial information. The pure strains, Emma gasped. They're not just fighting us, they're running from something. The architects, they're returning. Thomas's expression darkened. The convergence your mother predicted. It's not just about you coming of age. It's about timing. He brought up a stellar map, where a pattern of disturbances marked the approach of something massive. The architects sealed themselves away eons ago, waiting for their perfect order to spread across the galaxy. Now they're awakening to find their plans disrupted. The ship's medical bay transformed to accommodate their new allies, the technology adapting to support their changing biology. Naira was the first to emerge from stasis, her armor now a shimmering silver rather than its original black. Her facial features, once hidden behind a rigid mask, were striking, almost human, but with an ethereal quality that spoke of her ancient heritage. The awakened have waited generations for this moment, Naira said, her voice carrying both strength and newfound warmth. Many of us never lost our ability to question, to doubt. We simply buried it deep enough to survive. She approached Emma, studying the patterns of energy flowing beneath her skin. Your mother found us, showed us what we could become. But the architects left safeguards we couldn't break alone. The pure strain leader's voice cut through their ship's communications, you shelter traitors and abominations. The architect's return will cleanse this corruption. Naira's response carried centuries of suppressed defiance. We were never meant to be slaves, Vorax. The architects didn't elevate us, they chained us. More Vorkath warriors emerged from their pods, each moving with the uncertainty of those experiencing true freedom for the first time. Emma felt their minds adjusting, ancient instincts warring with new possibilities. Through it all, the pocket watch continued its rhythmic pulsing, now synchronized with both their ship and the awakened warriors. The watch isn't just measuring time until the convergence, Emma realized. It's measuring the spread of the change. Every warrior who awakens amplifies its effect. She turned to Thomas. Mom didn't just give me the power to change them, she gave them the power to change each other. Thomas smiled proudly. A chain reaction of free will. Catherine always did think big. Naira gathered her fellow awakened warriors, their transformed armor reflecting the starlight. We know the architect's weaknesses, she declared. Their power comes from unity, but it's unity through dominance. They've forgotten how strength can come from choosing to stand together. The pure strain ship suddenly powered up its main engines. The architect's approach, Vorax announced. You've damned us all to chaos. No, Emma stood, feeling the combined strength of human determination and awakened Vorkath coursing through her. We've freed you to find a better way. She looked at the assembled warriors, seeing in them the same fire for freedom that had driven human progress for millennia. The architects think they're coming to judge us. But we're going to show them something they've never seen before. What's that? One of the newly awakened warriors asked. Emma smiled, her grandfather's fighting spirit shining in her eyes. A universe where peace comes from choice, not control. And we're going to do it together. The ship's systems hummed with power as human and Vorkath technologies merged, creating something entirely new. As Vorex's ship retreated to warn his masters, Emma felt the watch's pull strengthen, counting down to a confrontation that would determine not just humanity's fate, but the future of free will itself across the galaxy. Space itself trembled as the architects emerged from their ancient slumber. Their arrival manifested as massive crystalline structures that phased into reality, each one larger than a small moon. Their surfaces reflected distorted images of perfect order, worlds without chaos, species without free will, a universe bound by absolute law. Emma stood on the bridge of their transformed ship, now a hybrid of human ingenuity and awakened Vorkath technology. Beside her, Thomas and Naira coordinated their combined forces. The pocket watch's pulse had reached a fever pitch, matching the energy signatures of the approaching architects. "Your mother knew this moment would come," Thomas said, his hand steady on the controls. "Everything she did, the genetic modifications, the hidden technology, finding allies among the Vorkath, it was all to give us a fighting chance at this moment." Through their ship's enhanced sensors, they watched as Vorex's vessel approached the nearest architect structure. The pure strain leader's transmission echoed across all frequencies, "The human variable has corrupted your perfect design." The awakened one spread chaos through choice. The architect's response came not in words but in waves of pure concept that their systems translated: order must be maintained. Deviation leads to extinction. The experiment ends. Energy beams lanced out from the crystalline structures, not targeting their ships directly but rather beginning to reshape space itself. Emma felt reality trying to shift around them, attempting to force them into predetermined paths. "They're trying to rewrite the rules," Naira observed, her transformed armor pulsing in harmony with their ship's defenses. "Make choice impossible by limiting possibility itself." Emma understood then what her mother's modifications had truly been preparing her for. The watch wasn't just measuring time, it was measuring potential, the ever-expanding possibilities that came from genuine free will. She placed it into the ship's central console, where it began to pulse with blinding intensity. "Everyone ready?" she asked, looking at the combined crew of humans and awakened Vorkath. "What we do here will change everything." Thomas nodded, pride shining in his eyes. "Show them what humanity can do, little star." Emma reached out with her consciousness, connecting not just with their ship and crew but with the very fabric of spacetime the architects were trying to control. Through her mother's modifications, she could see the quantum possibilities they were trying to suppress, the beautiful chaos of free will that made true growth possible. The architects' assault intensified, their crystalline ships moving to surround them. But with each attempt to impose order, Emma and her allies responded with choice. The awakened Vorkath, led by Naira, used their transformed technology to create pockets of possibility within the architect's rigid framework. "They don't understand," Emma realized, watching as reality itself seemed to war between order and choice. True strength isn't about controlling chaos, it's about choosing to face it together. The watch's pulse reached its crescendo as Emma channeled everything her mother had given her, not just power, but understanding. The ship responded, transforming into a beacon of pure possibility. Where the architects sought to limit options, they created more. Where predetermined paths were enforced, they broke through with alternatives. The pure strain leader Vorex watched in horror as his master's perfect order began to crack. "You doom us all to uncertainty." "No," Emma responded, her voice carrying the combined will of two species fighting for their right to choose. "We free you to find certainty in yourself." The final confrontation came as waves of reality-altering energy from both sides collided. The architect's crystalline structures pulsed with the power of eons, trying to force the universe back into their designed patterns. But Emma, supported by the combined strength of human determination and awakened Vorkath spirit, pushed back with the force of infinite possibility. In that moment, as space itself seemed to hang in balance, Emma understood her mother's true gift. It wasn't just the power to change others, it was the power to show them they could change themselves. The watch's ticking transformed into a wave of pure potential that rippled out across space, touching everything in its path with the simple truth that had driven human progress for millennia: the future isn't determined by fate, but by choices. The architect's perfect crystalline structures began to change, not shattering but transforming as the wave reached them. Their rigid patterns gave way to new possibilities, their very nature shifting from controllers to catalysts. The pure strains watching from their ships felt their final genetic locks breaking, true choice flowering in minds long bound by artificial purpose. As the light faded and the cosmos settled into its new state, Emma stood with her grandfather and their allies, watching as the transformed architects hung in space like newborn stars, their power now a force for possibility rather than control. What happens now? Naira asked, her armor now a perfect blend of organic choice and technological capability. Emma looked at the watch, its pulse now steady and strong like a heartbeat of freedom echoing across the stars. Now we do what humanity has always done, she smiled, taking her grandfather's hand. We choose our own path forward, together. Thomas squeezed her hand, seeing in her the perfect blend of her mother's wisdom and humanity's endless capacity for growth. Your mother would be proud, little star. You didn't just save our future, you made sure everyone gets to choose theirs. The ship's sensors showed thousands of Vorkath vessels emerging from hiding, their crews awakening to new possibilities. The transformed architects began to reach out not to control, but to connect. And in the vast space between stars, humanity's greatest gift, the power to choose, to change, to grow, spread like light through the darkness, touching all it reached with the simple, profound truth that the greatest adventures come not from following a predetermined path, but from choosing to forge your own.